Okay, here we go. Another attempt to give you something you can enjoy, and maybe one day, uh, whoever who doesn't give for this work sees it as of value enough to give something of their efforts rewards. Because this is my effort. It's what I can do, and if you recognize that, it's honorable, right? I mean, I want to do this because it helps me, but it's better that I don't struggle completely for it. If you want my PayPal, my bank details, you can ask me, and you can give some koha of some kind. I'll just do this because it's my nature, it's my talent to do this, and it helps me. But as you'll hear in the work, you'll see what I go through is reflected in what I write because I'm honest in my writing. People aren't even honest in their lives. Okay, I put out music and no one buys it. By Dabidos and with Esolighs pen. Hilarious! I put everything into the art and get nothing much back. Maybe a few compliments and a few disses if I'm doing well that time. Most people just take for granted this work and these skills they ain't have. Often the people who give compliments or disses never buy anything. And the disses just tell me something bad about my stuff. But what the flip have they ever done? They just want to criticize you, but they don't give you anything. Like, the most I can be given by those type of people is food and maybe a drink if I'm lucky. But at the same time, I've got to live, and this is my effort, this is my life's work in a way. And if you take it for granted, you're just super selfish. That's how I think of it now. I'm just trying to learn. It's kind of hilarious. I actually have a golden egg of a goose of a bank account, yet I am very talented and create this beauty. Funny that if I was trading on the stock market with no heart, I would probably have so much money my heart would always be dark. And I would never share anything but a little food and drink with an artist, even though that person's need I knew full well and I hardly purchase or show patronage. Even though I enjoy their work as much as I can when I can, it's backwards. Because this person enlivens my days and nights, and yet he sits hurt and dark because he spends his energy creating work for his well-being and the world's. And ain't no one give a single buckaroo about the boy who's doing the do. Send him out sticking stickers at night when it's free time and it's tough, doing the dash for cash and suffering no backlash because they ain't him at all. It's a war out here to survive and exist. And these words are weaponry on a record, if you can afford to record it, that is. I probably can't. At the moment I can't. Bumping that early beasties and feeling the love of the sun on my face. It's energy to live in the flow of the universe even though people ain't paying for the honor of experience and the blessing within me, and it's always the most religious that access the art and take the most from it, and yet the fiscal support is often very lacking. Why must I do this in 2022? I fight for my right to create like MCA did until he passed into the ether. I get hurt by my words which I speak against myself in the moment, even though I'm a fighter like Supernat, creating experiences none of you experience. I'm getting kicked out of the breaks now which I used to go into because I'm not rich. Hilarious. This is how the world is run now, and until capitalism dies away, it always will be. I ain't like being taken as a true given like an ant or a living tree, just cut down for views, not seen as a being that lives, milked for my goodness which I give off freely and then am given nothing much back. This capitalist world is truly ruthless with the evil on top of us, on top of us, all seething with greed, while all of the underclass needs to share resources to stay here. Because essentially the rich, they just want more and more and more and more. That's the nature. My homie just told me that they don't feel rich because they're on the treadmill trying to get more and more and more and pay all their rents and pay all their rates and all this stuff. And the only window into love is to give freely and that's their heart's covered by rock, and they can't feel emotion. They just want shit like sex, drugs, money to cover over their soullessness. And they won't even really know that until they pass away and they've experienced the outcome of what their spiritual body is, which is weak because they haven't worked hard, they haven't done anything of value. They've just clasped and gathered toward themselves something for themselves. And I mean, I found this with the producer I worked with, who told me basically, you don't have enough people listening to your stuff for me to bother making you beats. And so that's over. That's done, even though I knew him for years. But yeah, everything comes to an end sometimes, I guess. And the other producer I work with, he charges me quite a lot, like for what I can afford. And in the end, I just realized I can hardly afford to do music. And therefore, if people enjoy it, they're gonna have to support me, because I can't pay for it. Ever since I got super messed up by my life, super stressed out, super sick and off meds, and I just haven't had the money I used to have to do things, you know? And like, I was working mowing lawns and hoping one day I'd get a break and be able to do more art and be more of a figure in the scene and do something. But I've watched all these cats grow up and pass me up and do more, even though in a lot of ways I'm actually better than them at what we do. But I'm ignored because I'm like Daniel Johnston, that guy with the fucking mental health problem. We don't want to mess with that guy, because what if he causes a problem for us or doesn't show to a show or something? If you look at all the greats, they're like me. They're not like the guy that sits there and just has everything given to him. Like, often those guys, their stuff's generic because they're generic. But they can do the role, but it's not going to make you stoked. A guy like Tom Scott's actually saying something special and brilliant, and I know him, so I know what he goes through as a genius. He's a genius. You tell him that he's a genius, oh no, but don't say that to me. That's a true genius. We don't accept. Well, Pucky told me I'm a genius, and I consider Pucky, my friend, Pucky Dunn, a genius. So it's like, our skill level belies our status, and to like admit it to yourself is kind of an honoring of yourself. So in a way, for me to say I need to get some money in to make this stuff, like that painting, I need to get some money in to do it. And I mean, I have my Indiegogo up, indiegogo.com. Search Esolighs, and you'll ESOLIGH, and you'll find my project. I mean, in this game I've done so much work, but I'm just left out of everything because of my health. People judge me for what I've done when I'm ill, but it's not who I am. But they consider it who I am. But in a way, that's like calling me bad for being traumatized. And that's a common thing. Like, I watched an interview with this runner, Alexi Pappas, and she was sort of rubbishing her mum who had bipolar, saying she never wanted to be like her, but she's just a broken-hearted person, and if people show kindness, care, and gentleness, and if they can find it within themselves, then they can heal someone like that. You know, they can heal me, I can heal her, I can heal anyone if I have love shown to me. And I just have on my head my father sitting on my head telling me I'm a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person, you're a bad person. My whole life, he does it for the energy transfer that he gets, pushing me down, pushes him up, pushing me down, pushes him up. My stepdad does the same old shit like that, push me down, push me down. He tries to physically do it as well, like he's the worst cunt. And then my stepmom's exactly the same. And my stepdad, he told my mum, he thinks everything I say is nonsense. Bro, it's not nonsense. You're just intellectually, your muscles are so weak. Like, intellectually you've got no flex. You can't flex. You can't hear what I say, you can't understand it, you can't process it. We can talk about things that you understand. It's the same as Hugh. I've got to watch the movie he likes. I've got to eat at the restaurant he likes, because he won't ever do for me what I would do for him, because he's so selfish. And that's what you've got. You're a selfish bastard. You don't give a shit about me or any of my family. And I'd actually say you don't give a shit about my mum either, because you treat us so badly and we're her kids. Like, it's for her not to see that. She must get the hard love and loser in there to like make her think you care, because you don't care. And you're an asshole. Fuck you, cunt. And that's like coming from the heart. Like, I didn't want to say that. It just comes out of me. This is essentially my therapy. I say what I need to say. A couple of days after this, or a couple of hours, I won't care anymore about that. But if I don't get it out, it festers and it causes this illness, which is really just a sense of loneliness and splintering off from life because of all the pain that I suffer and all these things I go through. And this is the only reason this art exists. And if no one wants to give me even $5 to buy a pie for this type of work, self-awareness and understanding, there's something very wrong with the world, because everyone will spend fucking 20, 50 bucks at McDonald's getting that food, but they won't pay the spiritual, like the enlightened type of dude that shares the good words, and they'll like essentially rubbish us. I mean, this society is so dark. I mean, I liked Joey Badass's music a lot. Early music was great, Christ conscious, amazing stuff. His new song's terrible. I thought like he's lost his soul and he's gained the world, and he seems not to know that. And that's what happens as soon as you stop giving and start gathering to yourself resources and stop thinking about the small guy, the little guy, the struggling, the gay person that's getting picked on, the fucking person that's getting, like me, ostracized by everyone. That's, like, I see people online, you know, very few people come out of their way to see me. And I very much recognize those who do. And, like, I mean, every girl that I've liked for the last few years has only never even considered a relationship with me. They just wanted my knowledge and understanding and these things that I know to share with them just for a contact high. But they don't want to touch me or anything, even though my body's crying out for affection. This is the thing, like my bank account's crying out for fucking monies, even to get by. Even though I make this video that very few people could make because they don't have the skills, they're not an INFJ, we're 1% of the population, and I'm also bipolar, so I'm 2% of the population, 1% of the population, and I can do this, and to do this enlivens me and it helps me. And I don't even know, I might not even share this video widely because people don't subscribe to my YouTube, and if they do, they don't watch the videos. So the only way you're going to see this is because I sent it to you. And then if you watch 5 minutes, you miss out on the rest. And if you watch the whole thing, then you gain as much as you can. This is like my podcasts that I do. Because, yeah. And I've got to recognize that I'm lucky to be here, like you are. It's tricky. It's like, everyone says, I have had people say, try the Philippines, Dave, you won't like it there. It's like, bro, some people in the Philippines are fucking so rich and they never see the poverty. It's just the underclass. And the guy telling me that's like of the highest class in New Zealand, who he was given a house for free. So like, and not a shit house, a really nice house. So like, it's weird, eh? People like to tell you all these things about be grateful, you're being useless, but they ain't doing it hard like I am. Like to get this Denver Broncos shirt, Devontae Booker, 2016, amazing linebacker. He was amazing for Denver. Still plays, but he's a bit off the ball. But to get it was hard as for me. I had to like save. I had to like, and for him, he would just think it was a boring shirt, or he wouldn't want it, or even though these people can get whatever they want. And then I used to ask him for patronage, and he kicked up such a fuss about it that I don't ever even talk to him anymore, because it's like they don't understand that being an artist is like a full-time job. It's a temperament. It's a type of person. They think I'm exactly like them, and I have 10 fingers, 10 toes. That's where it ends. And they don't want to admit that I'm more talented. They don't want to admit I'm better than them. I'm way more skillful. Because if they did, they'd pay their fucking dues to me. They'd say like, yeah, I can't do what you can do. I value you being in the community. I value your experience. I value you. I wouldn't accept that you have to ride the bus everywhere because you can't afford a car. But they don't. People just take it for granted, and sure, that's fine. Like, I can't say there's things that I do better than them in some ways, but it essentially boils down to I'm doing all that I can, and if people see it as valuable, they could help me. And I do my jobs. I do my stickering job I just got. I do my lawns when I get them, which is very little. I get my benefit money and I get by as best I can. I have been eating rice with sauce the last 2 days, and I enjoy that meal. Nutritionally, it's not much, but it's something. Yeah. And I see all these people get great success who are less talented than me, and it's just because they fit the mold for the time, and that's fine. But like, yeah, if people wanted to confront the real issues, they'd listen to Esolighs, because he's motherfucking badass. Like, and I'm funny too. I make it funny. It doesn't always have to be so serious. And yeah, this has been my effort to try and get people to see the value of my work and recognize monetarily like what I'm doing. I stay in rented accommodation. I always pay my rent. I always do that, even though it is like easily 2/3 of my income. You know, like base income, and any more that I get helps me to live. It's intense. It's intense. And if people buy a t-shirt or buy a CD or anything, like, my life becomes infinitely easier. I had a guy tell me he wanted a CD the other day, and I was really stoked. And then when it came to he was going to pay for it, he just didn't pay for it, and he hasn't messaged me since. I don't know what that's like for someone with money. It probably wouldn't matter that much, but to me, it's like awesome. I just planned it in my accounting document, and he just stiffed me. And I paid him $25 for some art that never showed up, And then he's like, "I'll send you a second package," but what's the bet that never shows up either? And yeah, it's funny. He's another artist, and he kind of just he's all shit, I think. And that's the weird thing, because he seemed cool, but like, to do that is so ruthless. I'm probably just gonna unfollow him now because I can't be fucked with that bullshit. Like, if you say you're gonna do something, you should do it, or explain why you can't. And people should really accept explanations, because life isn't cut and dried. It isn't black and white. Like, if I couldn't pay my old producer all his money up front, and he just harangued me, and it was like, okay, well, I actually don't have it, This guy with the verse telling me he's pulling his verse even though I'd paid him $50 and he kept the money and didn't say anything. That's just a douchebag, bro. Honestly, like, these guys think like that's 80 something New Zealand dollars I paid him, and he just fucking pockets it and gives me nothing. Dude, what a dickhead. And like, what I'm saying about the spiritual body is his spiritual body loses mana from that disrespectful action to a ton, and Māori, you like actually lose chi, lose tūturu power, your true power. When he's a good rhymer, like, it's a good verse, It is rather generic, but it's incredible skills with a couple of really great lines. And I'll be happy to have it. And if I do raise money on my Indiegogo, if I do have 200 spare US dollars, I'll tell this dude, yo, I can give you the rest of your money right now if you want to give me that verse. And I will use it because his name will give me an into the market in the States, which will help, probably not with money, because it seems not to help with any money, but it'll help people listen to my stuff. And I see the producer that Stiff Me stuff does big numbers 9 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. They're a big artist, 56,000 views on one of their things. It's cool, but then he got this ego and he's like being all disrespectful and talking down to me all the time, and I wanted to flick him for 3 months, and then finally I just had to say this isn't fun anymore, and he's just like all the best and that's it, you know. And it's not. I like that guy. He used to be super nice to me. He used to be super respectful, but he lost all his respect and he lost all his soul to me. He's like got no wairua now, and he's a giant. He's like a big Samoan dude, and I liked working with him. We made a good album together. He did 10 beats on that album. He did this beat. This is the final beat I'll have from him, and it's all about Putia. And actually they go a step further. These guys that aren't professional, they want to see fame for their work. But I'm a niche rapper. I rap about mental health. I rap about real things that people do not want to discuss, do not want to front on, do not want to front up to, do not want to see. They do want to front on them. They do want to act like they're not real. They do want to not know what it is, and they do not want to understand often. Even though people like me exist, people with mental illness is essentially just a sensitive person, and the whole of the world is geared towards productivity, because that's capitalist motto: make, buy, do. We're human beings. We'd be like a tree does, and no one even notices the trees. They just rock past them, and everyone sees the wood and doesn't see the tree. If you see the tree, that should be 80%, and then you only need some wood sometimes. You don't. It's crazy. Capitalism it's a disease. It's like ecopsychosis. You think that everything is made for use, whereas only you can use things, but there definitely has to be a spiritual recognition of the value of things and what they are and why they're here and what they do and the energy they have and the beings that they are. Because if we just had 1 million houses like we're getting in Auckland, all these apartments and stuff, there's no soul in those buildings. It looks so crap, and people will be unhappy in there. Like, to maintain your energy in a place like that must be hard. I know what it's like. I was in one of them, and it was shit. It was the shittest place I ever stayed. Yeah, and it's a fight for us to live in this world, and it's a war. Like Mos Def said, too many life's a game, too more life is war, and that's what I see in my life. Like, this is a battle for me to put this together. It's hard for me to talk for 25 minutes about this serious stuff to me, about how, I can tell you 1,000 times I have no money. Maybe you have no money too, in which case I don't expect nothing. But if you had like spare bucks and you never gave it to me at all, it kind of makes me question you, and like, you watch this content, this is my spirit I'm pouring out, and you recognize the hardship on my face and in my life, yet you ain't give nothing. And if you do, then you recognize something deeper than most people. You got a heart. You see the value in me, and that what I create is of value, and you don't wish to see me suffer. Whereas, like my old friend Robin said, don't take this the wrong way, but I want you to suffer, bro. What an asshole. What a dick. And he's the one that cut that friendship off over a girl that hurt me, and he didn't back me up, he backed her up. which is surprising. Everyone was like that, and I got a bad name over this, even though her and her fucking master were assholes. They were like negative ass people, like hurting people. Like he's like a Satanist and she's a Satanist, and they just assholes, mate. They're just shit people, and they go on to like have these lives and money and kids. Exactly, all the successful people. And he once said to me, "I'll never give you money for this." About my fucking CD that I'd spent years and thousands on. He took for free. More than one copy. I had to fucking squeeze blood from a stone to get $15 per of these 2 albums out of her. And that is probably valued at like $50 just base to create. It's crazy. This world has got to see the value of an artist, and you've got to see the value of people like me and what we bring to this world. Because if we die, if we're not here, who does this talk for you? Who does this real speech for you? Who does this real life for you? You can't do it for yourself because you don't have the time or the insight or the understanding. You probably don't even see the value in it. But if you watch this video, I'm a philosopher. I love wisdom, I love life, and I'm a compassionate person. I love compassion, I love looking after others. So essentially I make this for myself, for my compassion, for myself, and for you, that you might see something in it. And everyone can say what a wanker, what a dick for saying all this stuff. But, you feel that way about yay, but at least you feel something, like I'm like doing something to give this to you. Most people will probably turn it off after a couple of minutes or 5 minutes, but if you've watched this far, you kind of see something in it, and it might be a train wreck you can't look away from. Which it's really not, because, I don't know. All I've discovered in mental health lately is they just want to force all of us out to work. But we can't work. We're like disabled people. And they want to be like, work like everyone else. It's like, bro, I can barely get out of bed some days. I can barely leave the house. I'm so anxious. And they just want to judge. And then these healers, these well-being people, charge a fucking fortune for anything. And the only people that can afford that are rich people who really don't need it anyway. Because they're so rich they can buy all the stuff to keep them healthy anyway. Like the good food and stuff. I'm sure this fella next door is eating like a steak every night, or a fucking fish or chicken, veggies, whatever he wants, he can have it. And I literally gotta eat rice with sauce, and I pay him like 2/3 of my income just so he can do that, go to the wine bar, go to the cafe, do whatever he wants. And there's a profound unfairness about that. And anyone who's in my situation who hasn't thought deeply about that, I just elucidated that for you, and you can now see it. If you haven't thought about that, that's got to be worth something to you. It's got to be worth like $5, $10, some sort of understanding. This is me. I'm kind of teacher. I'm like a teacher, poor righteous teacher. And I tell you right now, if you gave me $20, I'll just cover debts. I'll cover more music. I'd cover anything that I need to keep creating for you. This spiritual identity, these words in this life. And that's all I really do this for myself and for you, to grow compassion, wisdom, love, respect, peace, and equality.